you who are watching me live right now, and for those of you who are watching at the time of the recording, this video is about the Leo new moon. So right now I'm recording this right after the full moon. Basically, the moon is still in Pisces, 20 degrees Pisces, separating from an opposition to Mars here and applying to conjunct Neptune. It's a Venus day and a Mercury hour with the midheaven and the descendant ruled by Mercury and the ascendant and IC ruled by Jupiter. Mercury is in the 10th house, 8 degrees, and Jupiter in 14 degrees Taurus. Yeah, Mercury in Virgo. So Sun is in the 9th house in Leo, and we're talking about a new moon that's going to take place in Leo. So the moon is Jupiter ruled. And now, let's take a look at this chart. I'm using astroseek.com. If you want to watch my Spirit of Matter humble and very excited episode about the person who runs this site that let me play and do an episode about his chart, then you can watch my Meta Astroseek episode. But now we're talking about the new moon in Leo. So, new moon in Leo. This is happening in 16 August where I am. So if you are in Australia, maybe this happens already 15 August. And if you are in the United States, then between 16 17 probably. Although it probably will be still 16. I think it will be still 16 for you. Yeah? Not? I don't know. Or 15. Or 7, I don't know. I'm getting confused. But new moon in Leo, 23 degrees Leo, in between 18 degrees retrograde Venus, and 24 degrees direct Lilith, all in Leo. Okay? The moon is exactly, tightly, very tightly, on the minute separating, but very tightly conjuncting Uranus in Taurus. And immediately I want to take a look at the asteroids. So new moon. Cycles of the moon, right? New moon, we don't see the moon yet. Okay, don't sow your seeds yet. Wait for the first crescent moon in about 2 days or so. But something is beginning. It's a hidden new beginning. You think about when a baby comes to the world, there is the question of when the baby is in the tummy, right, in the womb of the mother or the father, then there is a question of when does the soul enter the body of the baby? Okay, when does the soul unite with the body of the baby? Is it before they are born, after they are born, at what trimester, and so on and so forth? And so when we talk about the new moon, there is a new beginning, but it is not physical just yet. Okay? And so we must not underestimate the moment of the new moon, even though the action will be taken on the first crescent. The beginning is hidden. And this is something I immediately think of when I think about this lunation. And of course, I'm very more likely to think about it with the Venus retrograde and invisible. And I think at this time she's still invisible. I'm not sure. But she's about to become visible. And she's about to become visible, I think, as the evening star. Check with Gracia Tassia. Yeah. So, what we have here is that moment of inception that is still on a certain level that we only it's like, because it is Uranus, there's like the shock or something happened, but the action or the aftermath will only be seen with the first crescent moon. And that's true to yeah. That's true to this, actually. So, the aspects the moon is making, okay, so it's making a sextile to Ceres in Libra, which tells me that there is a story of that reminds us of the archetype of Demeter. And Demeter is the goddess of agriculture. She's the mother of Persephone. And her story is that her daughter was kidnapped, and she basically made the entire earth infertile until her daughter returns. Okay? This is a story of fertility as a relation to what happens to our children. And there is also a sextile to Vesta, which is more like what we dedicate our life to. And Vesta here is in Mercury sign. Mercury itself is between Polus and Sappho and Mars, opposing Neptune. So what do we get here? First of all, new moon squaring Uranus. So immediately this is a beginning that has to do with an outer planet. Any beginning that has to do with an outer planet is not just a personal beginning, it's something that's going to happen on a very mundane level. Uranus is already on the 23rd degree of Taurus, so this is not the 22. It's not like somebody's necessarily going to get like killed or bombing, although those things can happen with Uranus. But there definitely is a sensation and excitement around what's happening. Okay? And it's something that is going to come out of the blue. Whether action or performance, because this is in Leo, okay, some performance, some leadership act is beginning that is coming out of the blue. Now this is between Venus retrograde to Lilith. Lilith is just 1 degree from this lunation, and so Lilith also squares Uranus. Those are two very women archetypes. Okay, Lilith. Who was Lilith? Lilith was Adam's first wife or first woman, and as Adam was trying to usurp her, so sort of like, I am the man, you are a part of me, you listen to me. She was like, no, 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 no. I am not above you, nor am I beneath you, but I'll definitely be happy to live beside you. So she was cast out. Now, another thing Lilith did, she was cast out, but it didn't mean she didn't care about, being a parent. So there are stories where she kidnaps kids, and there are stories where she kills kids. And there are all these relations to her, like her relation to children seems complicated. But as a woman archetype, all that she ever wanted was to live beside as equal. And here she's in Leo, so she's a certain leader. It's maybe a woman leader or a trans woman leader, or performer or actress, or even singer with connection of Venus, that all she ever wants is not to be above anybody else, not to be below anybody else. She wants to be on par with world leaders or singers in her industry or musicians in her industry or performers, actresses and actors in her industry. Okay? So this is the motivation that she wants. She wants to shine. She doesn't seek to shine more. She doesn't seek to outshine. She just seeks to shine. Okay? And with the square to Uranus, who she is, by just being, which is the solar energy, she is unnerving the rebels. Okay, she's a rebel herself, But by just being who she is, she's unnerving the rebels. Now, if you think about women in the context of what's happening with Venus, and Uranus being in Venus sign, which is also women, even if it's trans women, it's women, right? It's not like, why did I say even if it's trans women? Because Aries is more associated with trans women, and Uranus Taurus can be gender fluid, gender queer, gender non-conforming, but Aries is more like the transgender woman. And so even if it's trans women, this is, we're still talking about the women archetype rather than the trans women archetype. Okay, I want you to separate this. Aries is more the trans woman archetype. Uranus is the unusual woman archetype. That is. So being a trans woman, you can just be a woman, but being a trans woman, you can also be unusual type of woman. That would be more the Uranus. Uranus is unusual. Aries is cast out. Okay? So, this conjoining of Lilith, who is a woman that wants to live beside the man. Okay? She's not coming to outshine anyone, nor will she be subordinate to anyone. Okay? Who might that piss off? What kind of women will that piss off? Okay? Either women who are looking to outshine, looking like let's all men hate together. Let's all hate on men. Let's all hate on men as representative of the whatever, patriarchy, religion, whatnot. Let's all make a revolution. And she says, and there comes this list. I don't hate on men. I'm just looking for a particular man that I can live beside. Okay? If I can live beside this man, I want, like, this is what I want. I want the man to live beside him. I just don't want a man to try to outshine me, and I don't seek to outshine men. And so there is a dissonance here, because there's this group of rebels. They're like, you know, the land is ours, or women rights, or and because of the unusualness aspect, and because trans women still are considered unusual, it can be like trans women's rights. And then those Lilith is kind of like, okay, whatever. I'm just looking for a man that I can live beside, and like I'm definitely angry in your anger, but my goal is just to shine, to live and let live. And this is something, it's a nuance that we are exposed to a lot of nuances around woman femininity, gender, sex, whatnot, energy, the mother archetype, the whore archetype, the elegant, the non-average. So like we're exposed to all the nuances of being a woman right now. And this is an entire new beginning that is very performative. And it clashes with a certain type of rebelliousness that is outdated. Okay? And why am I saying outdated? Because Uranus here is in Taurus. And Taurus is ruled by this invisible Venus now. And invisible Venus, while she's absolutely not outdated, she actually has been already Cazimi with the sun. So she is updated, but she is retrograde. She is still thinking about it. Okay, she's still reflective. I heard what prompted me to do this episode, kind of reminded me to do this episode, was the video of Maren Altman, and she pointed at this as being a shock in the beginning. She said something like, this is the revenge dating. So let's say you broke up with somebody, you re-estimated your values, and now you're dating someone just to show off or just to piss everybody off. Okay, but it's kind of like it's superficial. And she said it didn't come out of the blue, it came out of the rethinking your values. Now, the way I think about this is two things. And immediately I thought two things. One, Venus is still invisible. Okay, So if it's you and you're taking this to this declaration, or if we'll see it in the news, yes, actresses, actors, leaders, or woman leaders even, or trans woman leaders, we will still have to understand that Venus is still very much retrograde. Okay, she's about to be visible, which is very much retrograde. She is not done with all, like, this is not a time to begin dating. Okay, it's not a time to begin a new relationship. And Uranus, even though from the Venus part, I totally agree with Maren that the Venus part is very calculated because she is reflective, okay? But Uranus is a shock. Uranus is a eureka, a sudden sense of discovery. It's like, oh, that. And so here I actually tend to believe that the action will be more impulsive. Okay? So there was something more impulsive in here, and it's a type of impulse that is fated. Yes, absolutely, there is the shock effect. But whoever are playing the leadership roles here are compelled to do something. And there is a stress, okay? There is a stress, there is a tension, kind of like a Zen-like tension between the type, the archetypal of the woman that wants a man or a woman to live beside, and the type of sexual liberation or sensual liberation that is of the unusual. And so of the unusual can, even the simplest example, okay? Let's say Lilith and Leo here is kind of like, I actually care about having sex with love. I don't, like, my water don't come out if he doesn't love me. Then of course it entails relationship, and I need to have my relationship skills. He needs to have his relationship, or she needs to have her relationship skills. But in general, I just want to live beside someone, and that is very important to me. I won't give that up. It's like, I'm not gonna, make of you a dildo, a human dildo, and I'm not gonna people please. I'm not going to fake an orgasm, but I'm also not going to make of you like a dildo. It's like, oh, I could come with a dildo, so let's not think of you as human, because it doesn't make sense. But what I want is someone, human being to live beside and, be intimate with. While Uranus and Taurus can kind of like be, oh, I want, I don't care about marriage. I just want to have, I don't care if you love me. I just want to have sex. Or I find my empowerment by spanking men and pegging them. Okay? And then Lilith says, but how is spanking men and pegging them even like like, why do you do it with humiliation? Like, what's wrong here? It's just another sexual act that people enjoy. Okay? And that is the type of tension that we have here. It's the kind of like the women, especially the women that are like, let's outthrow the patriarchy. And it is like, cool. It's like, and let's reinstigate the matriarchy. It's like, what? No. That doesn't bring my water out. That doesn't bring my water out. I need to make wool. And people like casting Lilith away again, which is going to create problem with children. And this is why I looked at Mercury, because what was the original story is basically Lilith was cast out from Adam, and she was cast out from heaven, and she was like, well, I still want a baby. So there are stories where she kidnapped babies. How am I supposed to have a baby? And you can think about this both as like with Sappho here next to Mercury and Polus. You can think about this like as the gay couple that still want to have babies, and it's like, and with the sextile to Ceres, there is something where the mother whose children are being taken away from her is befriending that Lilith. And she doesn't have any connection to Uranus, but she is befriending that especially that Venus. So as we have this new beginning, there is also the question of what is going to happen to the children. Child-free women can be the topic of discourse, or women that we used to say, I'm child-free, and then they're like, wait a second. How can I have children when the welfare takes them? Or how can I have children when they're being trafficked? Or how can I have children when school takes them and then they're being, going through all types of violence and so on? So children are important here. Children are also important wherever Lilith is. This is another realization that I have, because we think about Lilith as the female instinct, as this woman who is very sexual, very this, very that. But the story of Lilith is simple as, I just want to be beside you. Okay, it doesn't mean I don't want to have children. I'm not looking to top you. I just won't be subordinate to you. We're supposed to be in this together. Where is this in this together? Where's this equal partnership? And so the Lilith is as much a parent as a woman. Okay, she is just looking for a certain type of partnership that in our known world was not happening. She's marginalized for no reason. She's been seen as a devil. She's been seen as this child abductor. She's been seen as evil. And you can see how Lilith connects very well with Demeter, okay, with Ceres, whose daughter was abducted and basically raped and married her rapist. This is what used to have, what still happens. Like, a woman is abducted and raped. If she survives, she's expected to marry the rapist. So it's like, oh my God, let's marry them so they are okay couple. So everything is so they don't think bad of our family. So it doesn't bring, so she doesn't bring shame to the family. Okay, you can understand how these two women are very related. The woman whose children been taken away from her because she said no to violence, eventually, okay? But it doesn't mean she doesn't want to have children, okay? Or she thinks about, and the woman who thinks about, how can I have a child? And this is already Venus here. How can I have a child if if this is what happens to children in the world? Okay, so lunation is also the archetype of the mother. So it is as much about parenting and children as it is about being women. So that's on a more, when we pinpoint the archetype. Now, this Mercury, which is representative of children here, is between Palos and Sappho. Sappho is basically the archetype of lesbian. So there can be the question of, it can also be, if I connect like what Maren said, a woman who decides to marry a woman or decides to date a woman because they are on par on growing children. But Palos here is adding to the less volitional aspect. And this is where, yes, people can absolutely start a shocking relationship to showcase the new values that they have, but do so impulsively or bring children impulsively, because Palos is about doing something, or some accident happens to you that is very, like, you got yourself into a certain trouble, basically, and you did so by being impulsive. The story for Apollos is that he is so impressed by poisonous arrows that he takes one poisonous arrow to look at it. It's kind of like, oh my God, what is this thing? It looks so beautiful. Like, this can do so much harm, but it's only like an arrow. And then poofs, then it drops him. and then the arrow kills him. Okay, and so the Sapo element here that is also very close, not the Sapo, the Espouse that is also very close to Mercury, brings there is some flavor to this new moon, to this new beginning, that is a fated trouble, a fated mistake, a fated whatnot. And yes, it can absolutely be where you know you shouldn't be dating someone now, but you can't help it. And Polos, like, they can't help it. So my prediction is that it will trigger the people to whom it is native to their chart, to whom Polos plays a role. Unfortunately for me, Polos is next to Mercury, which is the ruler of the 7th and 4th. So I'm kind of like, but it's gonna come up with the people whose charts are triggered by it. Because of the connection to Uranus, there's going to be an element of the spirit of the times. It's like everybody, like a lot of people are making the people who have been targeted by the outer planets, they're making kind of like a fated mistake, or they get into fated trouble, and that has something to do with the progress of humanity. And here it is Uranus in Taurus. Uranus in Taurus, what is it about? Revolutionizing our view of the soil. A lot of people talk about permaculture. I never heard people talking about permaculture before Uranus entered Taurus. Okay, a lot of people get into, diversity, how important is diversity, and so on and so forth. Usually when people talked about the land, if you read Mein Kampf, then you read it, you see it exactly. It's kind of like, all the people need to be on one land if they are one species, and then when they run out of resources, then they need to go and fight, and now they have to live on the sword. And that has not only been the situation for Germany, it has been the situation for kind of like all nations, or peoples, or tribes even. And then Uranus comes into Taurus. It's like, no, but you need diversity. Another thing Taurus is sensuality, so will and consent. It's kind of like, but if you have diversities, then you are stronger. And if you have will and consent, then you will see that the patterns do seem to align. You don't get overpopulated that easily, because you just don't rape people. And so there are less babies, but they're being treated well, and they live more in harmony with nature. We're gonna have new philosophies, it's kind of like revisions on Hitler that could actually be positive. And this is not revision. I'm saying, of course, it's very on par with the energy to say, if you read Mein Kampf casually, but you must understand that the whole context of scholarly and occult thought at that time, and nowadays too, was very much similar to Hitler. Okay, he was not inventing anything new. In fact, the only way he got into it is he wanted to paint, so he studied history because he wanted to use it, because this was useful for painting. Okay, so he studied history, then he connected with the mother, so he picked from the things that he saw, and he comprised an ideology which seemed very relevant to all peoples, probably including Jews. Like, what is Eretz Yisrael Shlema? Okay, the whole state of Israel and the Zionist thingy. It was a spirit of the times kind of thing. So Uranus revolutionizes our connection to the land. It also did so the last time it was in Taurus. Okay, back then people got connected with nature, but all they saw is division and purification. Now people get connected with nature, and they talk about diversity, permaculture, growing together, and will and consent. Okay, asking permission from the land, asking permission from this herb, connecting with tribes that lived originally on this, what do you call it, natives, indigenous, whatnot. People that used to work with the land, connecting with the wisdom of thinking 7 generations ahead, and how have 7 generations back affected us. So this is also Uranus. It's also Pluto in Saturn, Saturn signs, but it's also Uranus in Taurus. And Uranus in Taurus is about technology over everything. So technology over agriculture. We started growing stuff on the moon or on the moon soil. Okay, thinking about growing stuff on the moon, growing agriculture in the air, agriculture in the water, agriculture everywhere. So that's another thing. It's on the one hand, kind of understanding more of the origin of nature and how it goes along, and growing certain technologies and being able to do stuff we weren't able to do before. And this goes to money as well. It's kind of like, oh, only this week, I kind of thought about it and realized, oh, if the whole political, medical, later political conflict that we are experiencing in the world is kind of like a fog screen, so that we won't see that we are changing to social credit score in digitized money. Oh, then that means that the two world wars were basically a smoke screen from going from gold to what we call fiat. And fiat money is basically where you print something on a paper, you write, a number on it, and that has some sort of value. And you trust in that. I can give you a paper with $100 on it, and if it looks really good, you'll be able to do stuff with it. You'll be able to buy with it. And then there is a bank that kind of writes how much this, and they say, well, we back this up in gold. Okay, but try to get gold out of Switzerland. Goodbye. Nor Nazis nor Jews could take gold out of Switzerland. It stayed there. So those are also the eurekas we have, both with Pluto-Saturn ruled, and I dare say Saturn in Neptune sign, which is another Jupiter sign, yeah, but it's also Neptune sign, which has an even bigger cycle. We have revelations and reality check around liquidity, which is Saturn Neptune, but that deserves like a whole episode. And another thing that's Uranus Taurus is technology around our body. Okay, so changing your sex, becoming more accessible, and so on and so forth, and the kind of controversies around that. Is it good? Is it not good? And by the way, the main side effects have to do with inflammation. And inflammation is very much associated with what limits the nervous system, which is both Mercury, but also Uranus. Okay, inflammation-related diseases that are also considered mental health issues. So yeah, and also are related to shock. Okay, you get inflammation when you have a shock, which is Uranus, and then it shocks your system, and now your system is hyper-vigilant, and then you get inflammation. So you have to eat like food that does not cause you inflammation to help assist release the nervous system after the shock. Okay, that is, and that in itself, the realization of food in relation to inflammation is also Uranus Taurus. So we have another touch on that. And with Venus being retrograde, we kind of realize more and more. But there is an inherent difficulty with having a new moon in Leo, with Venus, the ruler of this outer planet, being retrograde in Leo. Why? New moon is a new beginning. Is a slightly fated. What I'm saying, slightly fated, you can manifest with the moon, but fated in the sense that it is deterministic for something new to begin. It's determinism. It's a new moon. Something new begins. You can act on it, you can avoid it, and then it will happen to you. But it's kind of like there is a certain fate here, a certain path, there's a certain cyclicity. And so something new begins. Obviously something new begins, but that something new is in context, in this harmonious context with some outer planet Uranus, what's his name, planet George, that is ruled by Venus. So I'm saying, okay, how is the ruler of this planet doing? Okay, if I want to know about Uranus, I say, okay, some shock, some this, are related to Venusian stuff, so relationship, land, blah, 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 credit score, and okay, fine. But what? Like, where is Venus? Same as if I want to know what's up with Pluto. Oh, it's Saturn ruled. Okay, good. Where is Saturn? Saturn in Pisces. Okay, then we're going to have like rejuvenation and pollution in the oceans or tending to that, or revealing that, or ships from whatnot coming up, and all kinds of Plutonian events in the ocean. And here, the Venus is in Leo, so we have revolution. Queen Elizabeth died a while ago, okay, but the aftermath is still taking place. We had some famous divorce in, and this is also Uranus. This is also Uranus next to Algol already, because the whole, okay, this is completely esoteric, and I'm not the one who discovered it, so this deserves an episode. But anyway, it does mean upturning, or the aftermath, stuff to do with the British Kingdom are also like going to happen. Okay, the Sinn Féin, which is the Irish, basically the Irish, I think, government right now, that started as guerrilla/terror, whatever you want to call it, and they came out with legislation that forbids people to offer people to have sex in favor of housing in Ireland. Okay, so they're kind of exposing something that was possible under the British Kingdom, and they're like, no, we don't want it anymore, because they're trying to appeal, they're trying to get the Irish people to fall in love with them, and to kind of have the legitimacy and over the monopoly over power in Ireland. So they're kind of like, oh, let's do, hey, that's something these British guys didn't do. Oh, they didn't forbid to have human trafficking for housing, so we're gonna ban that. We're gonna change that. So I hope it will be successful. But those kinds of things where the rulers are being exposed, there's something shocking, some revolution, some rebelliousness, that kind of puts a certain light on, here it was the British Kingdom, but also world leaders, kings, queens, and so on and so forth. Okay? If you think about the stories, like coming up, people came up with Epstein's list, and I think it's going to be distributed soon. So who are the people who befriended Epstein? Ehud Barak in Israel. Okay, it's kind of like, oh, there are these world leaders. And Ehud Barak was perceived or seen as this kind of a mature, nonchalant leader that it's not into much provocation. It's kind of like a sound voice, kind of like, oh, he was besties with Epstein. He was his client. So that is a big deal. And here we see this Venus is still retrograde. And so the ruler of Uranus is retrograde in the sign of where the new beginning is. So something is bound to begin, but it's not something that is final. It's not a final thing. And if you think about your personal life, think about something that you begin, and if you build a model of something that you know are going to have dramatic changes onto, that's something to begin now. It's like I'm building a certain model to just test out the waters and see what's happening, so that I know I will revise this. I know I will change this. But for anything, anything that begins, launches, or relationships, or in the new form of investments that begin with Venus retrograde, not only will it be revised, the revision will extinct it, simply put. And then you look at the lunations, and you look at other things, at the extinction, what will happen, how will it happen. Here, for example, if they push for a social credit score right now, hooray, because if they start it right now, Venus is going to be direct. Okay, what happens when Venus? She goes over this, and then she squares Uranus again. Okay, so this is where a relationship that has begun with the Venus retrograde, when that Venus is direct, either for the progressive chart of that composite or that relationship, or simply with the first Venus going direct, okay, something's going to happen. Venus is going to go out of her shade period, and something's gonna pop. It might not be the outright end of the relationship, but it's gonna be rocky from there on, and it probably will be irresolvable. So this is the inherent problem with this lunation. Okay? You start something that is a model for something. It's sudden. It's sudden. Even though, yes, there are things that are calculated because Venus is retrograde and you go over and revise. Unless you're like really good in astrology and you're like, I'm going to launch it on that day, and you set that day. Even if you do it, there's still going to be a lot of things you didn't expect. And I remind you, this Venus retrograde in Leo, she's got everybody with their popcorn in their mouth, caught by paparazzi. Simply put. Okay? You came to watch a show, but you are a part of the stars of the show here. And then there is this trine to Mars. Now, this is something that it's good that I'm looking at now, because Mercury and Mars, together with Polus and Sappho, they trine Uranus. What that tells me is the lunation doesn't see Mars. Okay? Mars is in harmony with Uranus. So the forces that are Uranian, and by this is also this Venus retrograde, or the Eresh Kigal, they are taking action in this nature. Then what is the nature of this action? It's Mars in Virgo. So it can be an act of speech, or using something of Virgo nature to do Mars things. And this action can be lethal. So even though Uranus is left at 22nd degree, Mars is in the 22nd degree. 22nd degree, according to Nicholas Stoyanovich, is the degree of to kill or be killed. This degree of Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, that is death. Mars is action. So here is a lethal action. Okay? Yeah, people could die here. They could die by accident, but the degree of 22 denotes to kill or be killed, and it's usually not by accident. Okay, this pertains to intentional. Okay, maybe it can be that by accident. I don't know, but here there's a rebellious act that is lethal. So unfortunately, I have to revise what I previously said, that it's not necessarily going to be a suicide bombing or whatnot. There can be terror, there can be explosions, there can be, with the demonstrations, there can be lethal actions, can be people who are dead in demonstrations, in rebellious actions. And who is the instigator here? It can be this Eresh Kigal. Okay, it can be this Eresh Kigal. It's a woman who was marginalized. But this Eresh Kigal is ruling this Uranus. Okay? So, some sort of unusual women. And you know what I seen recently? There is the daughter of Klaus Schwab. And she said, climate lockdowns are on the way, whether we like it or not. Now, whether you know or don't know, there is a global thing that happens, that people that have lands are being threatened. They can no longer grow things on their own land, even if you do have land, okay? So you cannot grow things on your own land. And that is not only cattle, it is also crops. And trees are cut. Okay, trees are cut, and cameras are being put instead of them in cities. And then, of course, it changes the climate, right? It's global warming. But it's also not just global warming. It causes a Uranus-like effect. It causes unpredictable temperature, sudden cold, sudden heat, because it's like the nervous system of the earth. What the trees, if you take a forest, they're all connected underneath, right? And so they're in connection with each other. Now, if we disturb this system, these trees know what's up, okay? So it's like you disturb the nervous system. This is very much Uranus. It's unfortunately, this is also Uranus in Taurus. You disturb the nervous system. It's kind of like a shock. And then, of course, it affects the weather. And there is this unpredictability of how will the ecosystem behave, all the while attempting to control the ecosystem. And what are trees? This is something that is very important to say in this context. A tree, okay? A tree gives us oxygen. We must breathe oxygen to live. So, no trees, we are very dependent on trees. Okay, our being the context where we are as humanity, very dependent on trees. But the tree does not only give us oxygen. What does this oxygen do? Oxygen is causing us to get old and die as much as it causes us to live. So the tree says, wait. This is not the end of it. I don't just give you oxygen. Now you say I have problems with this oxygen. No problem, darling. Eat the fruit. Eat the fruit, they have antioxidants. Okay? When you eat or drink the leaves, then you have vitamin C, you have antioxidants. So it's like you not only can breathe the air that I give you, that I don't, for me that's crap. I fart it as far as I can. Trees fart O2. They are in for the CO2, they're in for the carbon. 3 minutes. So for me it's fart, but for you it's life. Oh, you said that kills you? No problem, then eat these fruits too. Now you will be okay. Okay? And so we are inherently connected to the tree. Every living thing is inherently connected to the tree. This is why both martial artists, gurus, whatnot, they were looking at trees, the wisdom of tree. With witchcraft, we have trees. Jupiter is trees. Eresh Kigal itself, I read, is associated with wood because of the underworld thingy. The tree has its roots in the underworld, and it's as above, so below. And we have its leaves or its branches above, giving us shade as well, giving us good temperature. We can do nothing without. This tree got a hold of us. If trees decided they want to go, they want to drop dead one day, we'd be out of here. Yeah. So when as humanity, we try to get the wisdom of the tree. We try to go with the wisdom of the tree, try to learn from trees. We hold trees, we hug trees, we form relations with them, and they have a whole nervous system that later tells you go from here, you go from that. In world wars, okay? My grandfather was Holocaust survivor. He escaped through Italy. He escaped probably Warsaw, the way he told it. It's like, one day there was a rebellion, and then the gates were open, and then so we ran out, and they were shooting at us. And so that was probably, out of Warsaw, or when the U.S. came or whatnot. And he escaped through the woods. Okay, so this is also the escape of people. While there is the danger of the forest, there is also the life-saving aspect of the forest. And so everybody has been trying to form a good connection with trees. Like you got tree, you got everything. You got shade, you got fruits, you got oxygen. You got a company, you got a place to sleep, you got a place to lay. You have a place to meet people, and you have them assisting you with going to the underworld. Okay, so graves. Everything has to be around trees. And what's happening right now is anything that tries to replace the trees is trying to have the wisdom of the tree so that they can be like tree. Because if I am doing what the tree is doing, then I get to be this irreplaceable. I get to be eternal. Okay, because relative to human beings, trees are eternal. So as people strive for longevity, they strive for the wisdom of the tree. You see that both in the medical field. Okay, it's like take this. Now you're gonna have I diagnose you. I give you something in the water. I give you something in the this, something in the that. Now there's a chronic problem you're dealing with. No problem. Here is the pill for this. Now you have to buy this pill. You have to take it all your life. You have to take this pill. All your life you must take this pill. Okay, and in the past it was herbs. Okay, so you came to the shaman, and the shaman would blend you herbs. I would say, oh, you must take this if you are sick, if you are that, but you would pay to the doctor as long as you are healthy. And this is important because, like, if I have to pay you, I pay you as long as I'm healthy. And it was okay. I will keep you healthy. You pay me as long as you're healthy. If you're not healthy, I don't get paid. And that was okay. It was okay deal. Now you pay when you are sick. So if you're chronically sick, you pay all the time. Okay? But you say, oh, doctor, these pills, this thing that you gave me, you say I have to take it all my life. I cannot with the side effects. Then no problem. Here, take this for the side effect. You take this for the side effect. You say it's sort of like okay, but now I cannot have sex with my loved one. My penis doesn't stand. My vagina is dry and whatnot. Yes. Okay, no problem. Here you take this lube, or you take this Viagra. Oh, but this causes heart attack. It's like, oh, this happens to people. What can I do? Okay. By that time, the doctor made so much money. You're dead. Okay, next person. Now, as long as we don't have willing consent, we are in this. Okay, we don't have volition because we don't have willing consent. So we're kind of like, oh, we get overpopulated, and so for nature it is okay that we die. We take too much from nature, we get overpopulated. It's okay that we die. But if we have willing consent, we are smart. Why? Ever try to have willing consent sex? Suddenly, penis doesn't stand. What do? Oh, it doesn't stand. Oh, because the vagina is not wet. Oh, they work together. These guys, they work together. Okay, suddenly you're scared. How am I going? Like, if I gotta get pregnant, what's gonna happen? The vagina gets dry. Oh, now you have to think about babies. Okay, now you have to solve this problem. Okay, this is what happens when you have willing consent sex. Then everything comes up together. When you finally have sex, then you are okay with it. Well, either you're okay with all the implications, or it happens like with the polos. There, it's like, oh, I can't help it. Both are like, oh, I can't help it. It's like, oh, that happens. Baby is either born or not born. But you understand from the process that it takes and from the things that it brings, you both create a bond and go through challenges that are of life. Okay, you don't have to go to the Everest and bungee jump from a spaceship to get excited. Okay? You have challenges that you overcome. It's natural. You have the excitement that you need in life. But also you don't get overpopulated because it does take time. And then you want the children to have this good future, this, that. And then you live with nature. Okay? You live with, your immune system gets better. Okay? And now we have this woman who is a daughter of a person who said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Now, whatever caused him to say that, because when you're a very wealthy person, everything is written on the trust. Okay? Everything is written on the trust. You don't owe anything because you don't want to pay taxes. And the problem is not even to pay taxes. It's not even to pay taxes. You ever forget a document? It's like, oh, now you have to pay this. Oh, now you have to, oh, you're going to be in jail if you don't give us this tomorrow. Now, when the money is written on the trust, money, you put it somewhere. It's like water, it's like earth, it's like air. You grow something, money grows money. It's not like if you have net worth of I don't know how many billions of dollars, it doesn't mean you have them in liquidity, Neptune. Okay? So you can't come with that. So you say, okay, I'm going to write it on the trust. Whatever the government says, it goes to the trust. It doesn't go to me. I don't have to mess with that. Okay? And so you say, I own nothing. I just make the decision for the wealth. Okay, it's ownership too. But that's not what is meant when it says, you, the people, will own nothing. And you will be happy. No, you slaves. And so the daughter comes in. And she says, goes in the same way as the father. She says, climate lockdowns. Like, we have taken the position of trees. Now you do what we tell you. It creates problems. You do what we say. You will not have ownership. You will not have this. You will not have that. Now you're in our hands. But they are not trees. They don't have the wisdom of trees. You can imitate the tree. You can this, you can that. But they don't have the wisdom of tree. Why? Because when a tree gives you something, it gives you oxygen, it gives you antioxidant, okay? It gives you fire, it gives you shade. It's good balanced system. All these trees, they're connected together. Okay? You can't imitate the tree and outgrow the trees. Okay, if you try to outgrow the tree, you got nothing because you're stagnant. Trees are always, they're always growing. They're always growing. If you keep the trees, then you're in touch with the greater wisdom. If you take out the trees, then you are stagnant. You already begin stagnation. Why? Because you are connected to the tree, darling. Your nervous system connected, you're going to get inflammation. Okay? And there was Mark Bayers, he was talking about this Klaus Schwab's daughter. And I said, oh my gosh, she's literally going to burn in hell. Not because something bad will happen to her in the afterlife. Like, you're cutting all the trees, then you say there's climate problems, and you say it's lockdown, but where are you going to be? Your air condition runs out. What's going to happen? You're going to burn in hell in this life. Okay? It's like you're literally burning yourself. Now, pine trees, they don't mind. If pine trees get burned, they just spread more seeds, so you have an even bigger forest. Pine trees are okay. Okay? You're not a pine tree, darling. You're a human being. And so here, I suspect that there is something going in this. The women who are like Klaus Schwab's daughter are going to do something. And they're going to do something that is at odds with the wisdom of the trees, the wisdom of the land. It's like they try to bring the technology that imitates, that controls the land, to free ourselves from the connection of the land. And when you think about it, we want to go to another planet, so we need to get disconnected from the earth. No, darling, you go connected deeper into the earth, and then you can grow something also on the soil of the moon. This happened. Okay? But if you misinterpret it and you think, I have successfully outdid nature, rather than I've established a certain path of connection with nature that now allows me to grow something also on the soil of the moon, then you're mistreating yourself. And this is why here we have a fated new beginning that is at odds with the actual motion of Uranus and Taurus. Uranus and Taurus balancing our nervous system through the land, the trees, the sensual pleasure. This is where will and consent. It's kind of like will help when you practice. And this is also a good tip when you practice will and consent, even when you self-pleasure. All of the rubbish is going to be coming out of, all of the inflammation going to come out of the body, even before you had sex. Why? Because everything that keeps you from being in flow state, hard and wet, is being purged from the body. What's the other polarity of Taurus? Is Scorpio. Is that purging, elimination of toxins. Okay. And so when you practice that, it's not easy because we're not accustomed to that. But when you practice that, you get your greatest fulfillment in this. And some challenge, you go over it, it cleanses. Go over it, it cleanses. Now you're growing something. And another good practice is to grow plants. Okay? It's okay to make experiments to say, I grow plants only in water. I saw these cubes where you put these cubes and fill the plants with cubes, and then you can grow a tree in your office. Okay, it's good. It's not bad. It also has implications. 7 generations later, what we see, what we use to fertilize our soil is actually killing our soil. It's like, okay, now we have to rethink it. We have to see how we rebalance ourselves with the spirit of the times, and so we get good yield. Not easy task. It's not for nothing that the people who were in charge of this were the shamans in tribes. All tribes. Okay, in Siberia, in America, in India, in China, in Middle East, in Europe, in Africa, whenever you hear a person who was the doctor, the shaman, the person who was healing people, that's what they did. And all over the world. There's a woman that I saw on YouTube, Robin Youngblood, and she is of Dutch descent and she is of Cherokee American descent. So, Native American. So, she tells of when there was tsunami, I think it was in Japan, if I'm not mistaken. So she was there I think she was still in America back then. And she was doing her rites and rituals and so on, and she saw she's from a completely different culture. She met with certain dragons, okay, that are symbolic of Japanese. And she didn't understand. You said the dragons came and said this dragon, this was I think was white dragon and another dragon, and they said the dragon is so much energy that they cannot alchemize or change, transform. That is very bad. We must do something. You must pray. You must this. You must that. And later happened the tsunami in Japan. And I think she met someone from Japan too. And you see, this is like the connection of the trees, because everything is interconnected. Then you can know, and you see with the symbols. So you don't know what is these dragons, but you understand from your culture that these dragons coming to tell you that the land and the sea are in very big trouble. Okay? If we get this wisdom and we tend to it, then there are things we can do. But here, something begins that can be of a technological nature. It can be credit score. It can be social credit score. It can be digital, launching of digital, global digital coins, something like this. And in this case, Venus will go will go direct. Okay, so we will rethink it. But now it's kind of like there's a fate in the beginning. On a day-to-day life, you have to see where is Leo in your chart. So let's go over the ascendants. Okay, and I will begin with ascendant Leo because this is a lunation in Leo. For you, because it's your life path and your body or your appearance, it can be that you are compelled to try a shocking new look or to work with a certain technology on your body. I do not suggest you to go under eye surgery at this time or to fix your eyesight or something like this, but you may be trying to do so. The way you project yourself to the world, but to one-on-one to people, is going to be dramatically changed, but you will need to revise it. Okay? If it's something that you eat, maybe you're on a diet, maybe you're on, let's say you became vegan. You say, oh, I'm vegan, and you eat a lot of lentils. Okay, what it calls inflammation. Okay, so as Venus goes direct, then maybe now you're like, oh, you're on a diet, you're on a this, you're on a that, and you skip this part, you didn't watch my episode. Then Venus goes direct, and it's like, oh shit, like all those lentils, they're nice in some dosage, but if I over-exaggerate with them, then I get inflammation. And the reason that I began this diet in general was because I went through something and I wanted to relieve my body. Oh, my body went through trauma and I wanted to relieve this trauma, and I said, oh, I will be vegan, I will not eat meat, I will not stress my body. Okay, now you add lentils and you still have inflammation, harms your mental state. So it can be something like this. If it is a question for you, because medical and because Leo rules not only the eyes but the heart, okay, and you need to take, let's say, a booster shot. Now we have COVID is still here, okay, as many other diseases are that are lethal, and you said, oh, something like this happened, like I gotta go somewhere, I take another booster shot. As Venus goes direct, there can be implications to that. For you, I would suggest to think 1,000 times before you do this. Why? On the path to get canceled. Because it rules the heart. And what is the side effect of vaccines? Heart attack. Huh? So you have to be very careful with any procedure that has side effects to your heart. Also in vitamins, maybe you want to be concentrated, you're taking vitamins, but you are at risk because it is the first body. So this is what I want you to understand. That's about it. Oh, and this is very important. A certain activity now, certain activity coming from your career house, okay, boss or parent. It can be little, Or if you do something for income or yourself out, if something as a result of that can be lethal. Okay, so this is where the Mars thing is for you, especially if you're a solar chart. You want to be particularly careful with this Mars. Maybe, like, I don't know if to tell you to work with Mercury in Virgo, because it can just bring the energy of Mars, and because the opposite of what we wanted. So I don't really know how to remediate. It doesn't mean you're gonna die. Okay, it's also not in your ascent, it's not in your body, but it is related to your income, your value, something of to kill or be killed. And I don't know, and this is usually not a metaphor, so I don't know. Okay, but this is more coming from the second house. So you be cautious if you're performing a skill, if you're performing a task. You want to be very cautious, because this can be accident. Ascendant Virgo. So this new beginning happening in your 12th house. For you. Here this moon, this lunation is opposing Hygeia, Eros, and Chariklo. To especially Eros, but also opposing by sign. Working with Chariklo and I actually seen Chariklo in the Water Bear. So you can look for Chariklo in the Water Bear songs. Working with her through the 6th house to mitigate this can be useful. This Mars on the 22nd degree is in your sign. Okay? I don't know what to tell you to do, because if something is fated, it's fated. But what not to do. Okay? Mars Mercury can be shot. Okay? Injection. Okay? If you can keep out of having injections, even if they say it's for your medical well-being, okay, this will be good, because you can get killed as a side effect. And is also, if somebody tells you that, they want to kill you, you're not paranoid. And if it is related to your either mental health or something to do with studies, higher studies, gurus or mentor, okay? Because Uranus is there. So you are rethinking, you maybe are rethinking relocation, okay? But here, to act on it now is not good because of the situation for Mars, the action. Okay, it's not good. But in general, there is a fated relocation for you. It can be for studies. It can also be a refugee. Okay, 12th house is hospitals, jails, or exile. Maybe you are a refugee, but you need to be careful on your move, not to move now. Definitely not on the new moon, because here, maybe if somebody offers you, let's say, money, pay money, okay, pay me money, and I will transfer you to this safe place. Don't go there. They want to kill you and take your money. Okay, so this is very important. If you by chance hear this episode, then this is very important for you. But other than that, it just means that there's some new beginning around your mental health or something that you will need to revise. It's not good. But if it is medication, shots, or something that you need to inject yourself with, don't trust the person who does this. They are literally, it's not like they're targeting for you personally. It's not like somebody trying to take you personally down. But you are, maybe they do some population, they want to kill certain population. And so they say, oh, you come here for the mental health. It's good for your mental health. This is good for you. Don't take it. If you can, don't take it. Sometimes they force it on people. So this is my concern here with this Mars. Or somebody is actually trying, it's highly unlikely that somebody tries to assassinate you, but maybe you need to be careful with places where you could get killed. If you have terror attacks or mass shootings or guerrilla war around you, then you need to be extra cautious with that. So yeah, and go to work with Hariklo, because you can balance the nervous system here physically more so than with medication that affect your heart, because and it can be that to process something of heartbreak or something of the way you see the world, to mend the way that you see the world, can assist you more so than medication for mental health. Okay, the nervous system, balance it with certain type of exercise and food. But here, specifically, but here you need to also be cautious if you are doing athletic exercise, because sometimes nobody is out for you and you're not a victim of anybody. Sometimes you're just doing exercise, and they can be a lethal accident. Okay, yes, it is to kill or be killed. Usually denotes murder, not killing, but it can also be probably accident because of the nature of Mars. Okay, then it can be death by accident. So you want to be extra cautious in your exercises, what you do. Ascendant Libra. Ascendant Libra. So the fated new beginning is happening in your social circles. So maybe you're a part of a new social group that you will need to revise your role in. Okay? You are ruled by this Venus retrograde. And Taurus is your 8th house. Okay? Mars is in your a house of hidden enemies. So if somebody is out for you, you need to look to the 8th house. Maybe it's something to do with inheritance or something like this. And dissociate yourself from people who may have, other views on mental health. Because here, this can be somebody that tries to put you in jail, put you in hospital, but to kill you. Okay, this is, and I don't usually say that, but because Mars is on the 22nd, I tell you like it is. Also, you can do something that unconsciously is lethal. Pay attention to what you invest in with the 8th house. Where is your 401k invested? This is the good time to look into it. To gather information. Don't yet take action, but gather information. And for the 11th house, maybe you're involved with a certain social group that is of occult, okay, that or that pisses off some people that do occult, and they can try to even do this Mars thingy as like an occult action, but Mars is ruling here, your 7th house. Mars is your partner. Okay, here, with this particular one, your partner might be doing something. Okay, granted that your partner is not some psychopath who tried to take your money and put you in hospital to dead. It can be that your partner is doing certain something associated with your skill, with your sense of value. They take in certain action that maybe even by accident is very bad to your mental health and your income. Or the action taken is bad for your relationship and for your sense of value. Okay, it doesn't mean that do it, but because Aries here is in your 7th house and there is Chiron and Rahu, maybe they want to break free, maybe they feel marginalized by you. I don't know. There's something going on here with the partnership that is very odd. And the social group that you're in or your dreams or goals, you're going to need to revise them. So if you start or launch something now, also if you do crowdfunding now, you will need to change it, you will need to delete it. That's more like it. And Uranus has been in your 8th house, so it's another chapter of the story, but it's another chapter of a very unpredictable plot. So yeah. Ascendant Scorpio. So this Mars is actually in your 11th house, and the lunation is in your 10th with Venus in the 10th. You are rethinking your social status, the way you project yourself to the world publicly, your parents or being a parent. Uranus is in your 7th house. And Mars is ruling your 6th house and yourself. The way you are at service to the world can be lethal now. the action that you take is either your employees, if it's sixth house, or enemies at work, but it's also is ruling you. Which is another insight, because if you have problem with your employees, you need to look to yourself. You particularly, okay, it's not true to everyone, because the ruler of your first, your native, your ascendant, is the ruler of your sixth house. Okay? Some action that you are taking to maintain your health in the sixth house can be lethal, or can have lethal effects, and this is very public. Okay, maybe you advocate for something, and you know what? You could be advocating for a booster shot, or you could be advocating for something. It could be the case like you're advocating for a booster shot. You take this booster shot because you do, like you're not vile. You're not trying to kill someone, and you die. Okay, but it doesn't. Why do I say that? Because of this 22 thinking. Or you're advertising for something that there is a very big conflict. Okay, the conflict that you have in the sixth house. So either colleagues at work, unfortunately a pet. There's probably like whatever you know to protect your pets, do it, because this is yikes. Okay, this is really yikesy. If you have a pet that you broadcast on social media, okay, be extra cautious. And then it's not somebody else that's doing this. It's something that is ruling you and is ruling your sixth house. So sixth house is also our physical health. What do you do for your physical health? It is of Mars, Mercury, nature. If you're taking herbs, even tinctures, even stuff like this, or essential oils, stuff like this, while they're usually harmless, maybe something to do with a little dosage, or is some herb you haven't tried, or some combination you haven't tried before that you advocate for. It's like kind of like you're the broadcasting person and say, take this herb, take this shot, take this thingy, and then it's like lethal. So, but there's something very fated around this. Okay, something very fated around this. And you must understand that Mars, whatever issues you have in the sixth house, is to do with you. So let's say it's not just physical health. Let's say it's your pet. Maybe your pet becomes aggressive. Okay, then you must look at you like a parent to the pet. It's like, why is this pet like this? Maybe they're feeling, sensing my energy, what I'm going through. But then you try to do something about it, and that can actually be not productive or even lethal. And if it is your colleagues at work, okay, if it is colleagues at work, they're like, this is also ruling you, It's like whatever problems you have there, it's also, if of Mars nature, it's like you're also like this a bit. Okay, so maybe just knowing that can help you understand both how to protect yourself, but also maybe how to break out of the 22 catch, because this literally is a 22 catch, this one. If it's you as an employee, okay, same as what I said, you need to look at you. It's like you are causing your own troubles now. But if it's you as an employer, because there's a new beginning here, you could be a boss, you could be a parent. And sixth house, if you're a boss, there's your employees. If they are being annoying, you need to look at, because they do something, they remind you of you. It's not true to everyone, okay? Because the ruler of the ascendant is the ruler of the sixth house. So you need to say, what am I dealing with? Okay, what do I need to change in me? But also how to protect myself, because you know best, you do it, huh? So yeah. And if you receive a promotion now, you will need to revise it. Maybe it is good for looking for, if you are receiving a promotion, okay, maybe it's a time where you ask for a promotion, but you already know you're going to the next job. Okay, so kind of like, I'm going to get this promotion, but then I'm going to say to my next job, look, I'm making this and this money, which is a lot more than what you made previously, and so top that. Okay, this is a good for that type of a calculation, but you must understand Here your investment, something in your, not your partner, something in your partnership, something in the 7th house is creating some unbalance to the situation. Like, there are going to be surprises anyway. Or maybe you're getting a promotion and it's kind of like, oh, that's a shock to you. It's like, oh, I thought my partner is supportive of me, but now that I make it more money, then our connection is actually not as good. And if you want unusual teachings, then on that, Lada Duncheva had her partner making less than her in the beginning. He was her accountant. And then something came in her life and she made a change and she decided she's going to back off, be more with children, spend more time with the local community. And the husband, what he did, he started to go to the stock market. And now he makes more than her. So she gets to relax, he makes more than her. She's still feminist, she's still everything, but it's kind of like, okay, this is good for it. It was good. There was a good relationship even before, but now she's even happier. She's even more relaxed. And so maybe such teaching, you need to hear it. Maybe such teaching is bogus for you. Okay, so you need to understand. But this unusual situation here with the partnership that's been going on for, since 2018. Ascendant, Sagittarius. Sagittarius. Ascendant Sagittarius. For you, Uranus is in the 6th house, has been there, it's nothing new. And Leo, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Leo is in the 9th. So, again with you, 9th and 10th. Maybe you need to go abroad to get a promotion, or in academia you're offered a promotion. But you need to be careful, because the job of being a boss or your boss could be little. And what's going on? Maybe some colleagues set you up, okay? Maybe some colleagues set you up, or there's some sort of a revolution at your workplace. Now, if it is pets, then maybe, what is this? Mars ruling? It's ruling your 12th house, and it's ruling your 5th house. Granted that you did not molest your children, this is a very dark undertone today. So granted that this is not the story, there can be some pleasure and hidden pleasures scandal being exposed. That is little to your reputation. I hope this 22 thing, it can be, it's little to my social status and not, like you die because of it or are assassinated because of it. But it can be because Mars is ruling your 12th house, so somebody is very delightful to kill you, basically, with this particular one. But more lighter, it just means you need to be cautious. You need to travel abroad for your career, and there's a new beginning there. First of all, you will need to revise, and the travel can be little. So do what you need to do to protect yourself. I don't know how to remedy this, but at least I can tell you, hey, that thing could happen. Okay, now, if it, to whom it will happen. I have natally Mars 22 in Scorpio retrograde. Okay, I am a person where when that Mars is triggered, when the 22 comes, I can be assassinated. Okay, this thing can happen to me. Or I can travel abroad and by accident or something fall off a cliff and, this can happen to me. But if you don't have anything like that in your chart, you're probably not targeted. It's going to be something else. Either this Mars is going to be something else, or someone in the news, or something that you're exposed to, or somebody died, your boss is being killed or assassinated at your workplace. There's something like that, okay? Because I'm getting this vibe, but I don't want you to be like, it's not a doom and gloom. I don't want you to go with this doom and gloom. If it's not in the books, it's probably not you that's triggered by it. It's probably going to be around you. But where are the dangers that you need to be aware of? If it is in your chart, then that can happen. Okay, so, and you also need to understand, you're getting a promotion here, you're starting a degree here, you will change it. You will either change the subject of your degree, or you will decide, I don't want to have a degree, I just want to travel the world, and all of this is okay, it's fated. It's something that you need to try, this life experience. So, And ascendant Capricorn. So for you, Taurus is the 5th house. Mars rules the 4th and the 11th. Leo is the 8th house. And Mars is in the 9th. So what I need to say to you, you remember an investment is a donation and a donation is an investment. You are ruled by Saturn. I don't have to tell you that the investment that you make now that is new, you may very well have to go short on it, which Saturn is very good at. If you're in good relations with your Saturn, it's easy for you to go short on things when they don't work. Yeah, and it's also easy for you to understand that you still needed to try this. Okay, this is something that you need to experience here that you're gonna have to go short on, but you still need to have this experience for some reason, something you learn out of this failure or mistake or what's something that doesn't work. Virgo is in your 9th, so be very cautious if you travel or next to religious institutions. Okay, they have to be careful. And like I said, Mars rules your 4th and your 11th. So it's a very familiar threat. Okay, it's a very familiar threat if it is a threat. 5th house, Uranus, again, you've been there. Naturally, if you need to think about your retirement, you may have less money to spend on leisure, and it's kind of like, oh, but I wanted to do this new thing or have this hobby. It's like a lot of expenses. Now you're gonna have to save money, because thinking to save money, it's gonna be a bit difficult or tricky to combine them. But this is what I see for you. And the weird action that you may be taking, that can be lethal, is in the arena of higher studies or teachings. Yeah, higher studies or teachings. There can be even a scandal there if it's something hidden. If the 8 is like hidden or occultish thingy, it can be a bit of a scandally thingy if you're a teacher or a guru, or if you are in class for higher studies. Don't launch your own book today. That's probably a wise advice. So yeah, ascendant Aquarius. So a new beginning in your house of relationships while Venus is retrograde. And Taurus is your home. It's either if it is existing relationship, you know, whenever something hits this point, then it's at odds with your home life. So it's kind of like the famous quarrel between the spouse and the father-in-law or mother-in-law kind of thing. So it's just like something new happening in that arena. And if that means you have a partner and it's going to be like more like the Marin Altman video where it's like, I'm going to piss my parents off, I'm going to date this person, then first of all, you know what I predict this to be? There is this woman who's dying, satire, I think. I don't know if woman or not woman, or like, yeah, I don't know the gender. But they or she are making like satires and really hilarious things. And they come to the parents and they say, well, I'm gay. And parents are like, okay. And they're like, what? You're acting as if I told you like I'm vegan. And they're like, no. The gay is no problem. Your brother is gay, or this is gay, or that is gay. But vegan? How am I supposed to cook you dinners? Now you gotta make a show out of every dinner. It's like, no, but it's like, it's just not meat. No, it's not just not meat. It's also the cheese. It's also that. And kind of like they're really reacting to her or them being vegan, but not vegan. What? Vegan? Vegan, but not to them being gay. And so you are doing this shock which you are Aquarius, of course you're going to do that, you know, shock factor relations. You come home to a family dinner and you're expecting like, oh, they're like, okay. But they can be shocked at something completely different. If you are both going vegan and going out with somebody new, it could end up like that short. So yeah, and Mars is little in your 8th house. So being Saturn ruled, I don't offend you if I say yes, you could die. Somebody's trying to kill you. But yeah, it's just like some action in your home environment regarding generational wealth. Okay. It's very dramatic. I cannot, it's very dramatic. But yeah, like, don't write your will today, okay? That is what I have to say about this. Mars is ruling your 10th house and your 3rd house. So if there's like a sibling that you're working, or that you're being the boss of, or they're being the boss of you, there's something to do with the joint assets that you may have, that some little action is done either by them, or just some little action is happening. Maybe it means that this saving is dead. I don't know. Okay, but it's yucky in this way. Like, it's just the unexpected, and understand that whatever new chapter begins in your relations is very temporary, even if it's existing relationship. You try some new activity, you try in with Mars. Okay, be careful of trying some new activity at home with your partner. You could die by accident, okay? But you could die. Like, yeah, this is so, the spirit of the times. But what you do have in your favor? You have Hygeia, Chariklo, and Eros in your sign. You are being extremely attractive, hygienic, and of spiritual flavor. So you have that working for you. Even when they're retrograde. Okay. So, Ascendant Pisces. This is happening in your 6th house. Leo's in your 6th house, so it can be a job. Maybe you're starting a new job that it's not going to work for you. Or you don't know it's not going to work for you. It's like, I need to start something anyway. It's concerning also the new beginning of something with your pet. Okay, don't bring your pet new food now. Okay, don't make experiments with the food that you give to your pets. Okay, don't start something new now. What you've been done, like, don't make that the change. But there's something to do with your pet. This out of, like, unexpected. I'm here, Pisces ascended, me scared for my cats. Or there's going to be a new pet. There's like, or maybe you're taking a foster care or something. I don't know. That can be, or when it's your health. Well, you're going to be compelled to make some experiment with your health. Make sure it doesn't kill your partner. Okay, Mars is ruling your 2nd house and your 9th house. So, if you're making money out of some spiritual teaching, that might be lethal to your relationship somehow. If you're earning money out of some spiritual teaching, might be lethal to your relationship or to your partner in some way. I don't know. Like, if you're a gay couple, maybe like something like that. So that can be the danger. But this is, your 2nd house is your possessions, which hopefully is not people. I'm not talking about kinky settings. I don't know if you would see someone who belongs to a master in the 2nd house. I don't know enough about these things. So it's something that your possession, your sense of self as relation to your values. And the 9th house has to do with something abroad. If you're traveling abroad with your partner,
This can be lethal to someone, or it can be lethal to your partner, okay? Or you and your partner have some interaction that is not like, I'm hoping it's not domestic violence for you, but that is the thing, because Mercury also rules your fourth house, and Mercury is in the seventh. Might have to do with like housing or owning a house. I don't know. I don't know what's on here. But it's something that you're going to be compelled to say that is striking, that is rebellious. And maybe you've been hiding it for a while because Venus here is retrograde. Or one of your neighbors is considering something or reconsidering something, or maybe they wanted to say something and it comes out wrong or comes out lethal. What else? Venus retrograde. It's kind of like your third and your sixth. So we said health, we said people at work, again, could be like work in general is a problematic issue right now. Maybe you have new enemies at work, but that will be revised. Like, you might get rid of them in a way that they are no longer here, and not necessarily on purpose. So yeah, ascendant Aries. So this Leo is in your fifth house, and Virgo in your sixth house. Mars is ruling your first and your eighth house. So it can be that you are making a certain investment that's bad for your health. Like, don't put your money on Pfizer or Moderna or any of those companies. Fifth house, it can be a hobby, a creative project that you begin that you will need to revise or will not. Like, you have something to learn from the experience, but it's not necessarily going to come into fruition. If you're trying to have children, then that can mean that that's not the most fertile time to attempt at that, okay? So yeah, ascendant Taurus. So you're the star of the show. This donation is happening in your fourth house. So you begin something in your fourth house. If you have children, what they need to be worried of is either your own mental health. Okay. Do not, under any circumstances, subject your children to hospitalizations. They will not return. I'm talking about, not like if they have like something physical that needs to be addressed or surgery immediate that they need to because of an accident or something like that. That's not what I mean. But it's, what I'm talking about. Okay, if you think, oh, my child is like this, it's like that, they're doing this, they're doing that, or like, oh, maybe we will hospitalize them. They will die. Like, they will die. So this is how it can be related to your 12th. And it also rules your 7th. So children here, okay, if you're trying to divorce right now, it's highly unlikely that organizations like welfare can be good to you and your children, or especially to your children. Your partner could be harming your children. Okay, the most difficult for this, your partner is trying to kill your children because they have bad mental health, or they taken, maybe you're divorcing and taking it in some sort of a way. This is very crappy. Okay, it's very crappy. It can simply mean that you're divorcing and you're moving to another house. But this can also mean that those things can happen by accident. Maybe you have a shared like custody with your partner and they just drive your children home and there's an accident. It doesn't mean that they killed them or that happened on purpose, but those are the kind of things that can happen. And I'm saying this to you so that if you know, I don't know what, like I can't tell you what to do because I don't know. But if you are doing like magic or stuff like that, or just taking precaution, then again, unless it is very much obvious in your chart, it's highly unlikely for that to manifest itself in this way. Okay, it can be your the father or the mother of the children brings the children to your new home. You're, let's say, divorced or separated, or you just decided that you're a happier couple when each have their own home. Okay, because this Uranus here, and on the way there's some accident that, you know, your family doesn't die, but somebody dies in this accident. Or for example, I can tell you an example. I was talking to a bus driver, and I was telling him about something that happened in the neighborhood when I was at my parents, and he told me, you know what? I remember, you know, one time there was a police officer riding a bike and he collided to a car. I don't think he survived it, but they never let anybody know that it happened. And that was, you know, you could be having, because Mercury here, you could have a conversation about somebody that died. Here it is 6th house, so it can be your colleague or something, or a conversation you have at work about the death of someone. Okay, this can also be that. But in the worst scenario, you need to guard your kids. Okay, do not be tempted to turn to welfare because they can kidnap your child and or cooperate with the father, or give it to the father or the mother if they're not good. If then they can try to, like, these are like the absolute worst thing that can happen are these. Some of the other things that can happen is like you hear a conversation at work about somebody that like died in a car accident, or it's like it's a conversation. Okay, ascendant Gemini. Ascendant Gemini, this is happening in your 3rd house. The lunation is in your 3rd house. Taurus, however, is in your 12th house. It's been on, it's just another triggering to that Uranus in your 12th house. It's a very tight aspect. It's an exact aspect, almost on the minute. And it means that it's going to be felt. So some shocking event, expect the unexpected, so something that affects your mental health. Granted that you're not going to jail or to hospital, it's just like a shock to your system. And of course, those things also affect your physical health. What else do we have here? Virgo is your 4th house. So Mars is ruling your 6th house and your 11th house. If you give a presentation with someone at work, okay, then that can, like, it's affecting your home environment badly, or exposing yourself. If you're in the like queer community or marginalized society or BIPOC, then you must make sure that you protect your house, your literal house. So because maybe it's something that you say that can cause people to try and, you know, put you in risk, in life risk. And it can be either some colleagues or some people that is threatening, and yeah. But on another level, it can just mean that you go to some house around your neighborhood and you hear a conversation that somebody died, like about somebody that died or was killed. Here, Venus, the ruler of your 12th and the ruler of your fifth house. So your 12th and your fifth house is here in the third house. There can be children around. You can be doing leisure time, something leisure with your neighbors. That will need to be revised, or you try something new with your neighbors, you need to be revised. That's pretty much the situation. Because Venus also rules your 12th house, and maybe because maybe you're recovering from an ailment or dealing mentally with something, and you're doing some fun, activity with your neighbors. But then as Venus goes direct, you're gonna have to revise that or change that. So it can be something like this. It can be that you are, let's say, released from hospital or released from jail, and you get more local with the neighbors, and then eventually, but it's something that you do that is disturbing to the 12th house. So I'm not sure what it is. Okay. Yeah. Ascendant Cancer. Yes. Ascendant Cancer. Taurus is your 11th house, and Virgo is your 3rd house. Leo is your 2nd house. Maybe you're starting a new skill or new form of income, or your self-value kind of is based on something new that will still need to be revised. What is this Mars ruling? For you, Mars is ruling of your 5th house. So it could be romantic partner or child or some creative project that you do. You can be doing something for fun with your family and friends or neighbors, but that something is lethal. It's kind of like when people celebrate 4th of July and there are death tolls, so you want to be cautious with that, and it can be due to an explosive. So if you're exploding some rockets in the yard, one of y'all may die for that, and it can be a child, okay? So be careful. Or you're having a conversation about the 4th of July where some children die. It's gonna be like that. And Mars is also ruling your 10th house. So whatever it is that you're doing for fun could also be the death of your career or the death of your career with your siblings or neighbors or neighborhood, something like that, because it's not that this Mars is in the 10th house, but it's ruling the 10th house, or something you do publicly or your public image. It's kind of bringing a disaster to your very close community. And Taurus is your 11th house, so something public, something sensational. Okay, you have a drive for executing something sensational, because your sense of value kind of need to be shining in a certain way that is activating your larger scales. You shine in a certain way, you perform something, you can get canceled. You can get canceled with this energy, because this Mars is ruling your 10th house, and these rebellious people, they can just cancel you, and that affects your siblings or your neighbors somehow. That's the thing. It's kind of like you may shine. It's like who you are right now, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're canceled for a good reason. It just means that you are shining in a new light that unnerves your viewers or your colleagues or the people en masse, and they decide to cancel you. and you might be hearing about this, or maybe you want to show, oh, I want to show, oh, come look at my YouTube channel, or come look at my new podcast, come and look at this, look at that, look what I did, and then you see your video has been taken down by the YouTube community, blah 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 blah, which can actually happen from this video, but that is like you get canceled. So it's not the end of the world. Depending on your chart, depending on other factors, it's not the end of the world. Yes, you can get canceled. It doesn't mean that it's the end of story. Many people, to name a few, in the astrological community, you get Marin Altman was canceled, I think, a dozen times. Was a conversation to cancel somebody, another, person. I'm not gonna say names, like people being canceled and being back. What I'm saying, okay? Jordan Peterson being canceled. He's out everywhere. Whether you agree with him or not, I mostly disagree with him, but every once in a while he says something really true and valuable, so it's kind of like dissonance. But then, to disagree and to cancel are two different things. And what else? Yeah, that was the last ascendant. Because for Cancers, the ruler of your 12th is in with this Mars in your third house. The communication now can be some kind of a self-undoing, okay? Or there's some hidden enemy that is within your very, very close circles. So it will take time, it will take Venus to be direct, it will take many things, and you will also change, okay? So you will also change, and the skies will also change, so we don't know what will be here. That is the most comprehensive new moon episode I've done in a while. So I thank you for watching. Again, the doom and gloom here is evident because the outer planet is Uranus, and the trining is from a very little Mars. So it is not only shocking and dramatic for shock's value, but yes, it is where there can be shootings, there can be explosion. Mars trine Uranus with this angle can unfortunately be mass shooting. Okay, it's those type of things. I cannot tell you that I don't see it when I see it, but it can also be a conversation about. So for most of you, it's going to be a conversation about. Some of you, if you're being, divorcing from where was domestic violence, you need to be extra cautious. Okay? So yeah, that's it. And bye-bye.